Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You grab your phone, half asleep, and open your banking app just to check your balance. But instead of seeing your hard-earned savings, you see a chilling message: account frozen, balance $0. You panic. You try to log in on your computer. Same thing. You call the bank, but the line is busy. Just a recorded message about unprecedented circumstances and new government regulations. You rush to the ATM, but there's already a line around the block, and the screen simply reads, out of service. It sounds like a dystopian movie, doesn't it? A nightmare. That could never happen in a free, modern society. But what if I told you this nightmare has a historical precedent? What if I told you that the blueprint for this exact scenario was written almost a century ago, and right now, in the hidden backrooms of central banks and government offices, that blueprint is being dusted off, updated for the digital age, and prepared for execution as early as 2025? Welcome back to the Hidden Ledger, where we uncover the financial truths they don't want you to know. Today, we're not talking about a stock market crash or a housing bubble. We're talking about something far more sinister and personal: the systematic, legalized confiscation of your wealth. To understand what's coming, we have to look back to April 5, 1933. The United States was in the depths of the Great Depression. People were terrified. They didn't trust the banks, so they were hoarding the only thing that held real value: gold. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, in a desperate move to take control of the monetary system, signed Executive Order 6102. With the stroke of a pen, it became illegal for private citizens to hoard gold coin, gold bullion, or gold certificates. The government demanded that every citizen turn in their gold to the Federal Reserve. In exchange, they were given paper money Federal Reserve notes at a rate of $20.67 per ounce. It was framed as a patriotic duty to help end the Depression, but it was a heist, a massive, state-sponsored wealth transfer. Just a few months later, after the government had collected the gold, they officially raised the price of gold to $35 an ounce. Instantly, every American who had complied was devalued by over 40%. Their paper money was worth less, and the government's gold was worth more. The lesson from 1933 is clear. When a government faces a severe financial crisis, there are no rules it won't break. Your private property is only private until they decide they need it. And make no mistake, we are facing a financial crisis today that makes the Great Depression look like a mild hiccup. Global debt has reached astronomical, unpayable levels. Inflation is eroding the purchasing power of currencies worldwide. The system is cracking. But here's the terrifying twist. In 1933, they had to physically send agents to seize gold from safety deposit boxes and hidden floorboards. It was messy. It was difficult. Today, they don't need physical force. They have built a digital prison around your money. The confiscation of 2025 won't begin with a knock on your door. It will begin with a line of code. In this video, we are going to expose the 3 pillars of this modern-day confiscation plan. We'll show you how the tools are already in place, being tested right under your nose. We'll connect the dots between seemingly unrelated events to reveal a clear pattern. Before we dive into the mechanics of this digital heist, if you believe that knowing the truth about our financial system is the first step to protecting yourself, then please take a split second to hit that like button. It helps this information get past the algorithm's gatekeepers. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Hidden Ledger and turn on notifications, so you're never left in the dark when history decides to repeat itself. Now, let's open the ledger on the first pillar of their plan, NCTA. The 1933 confiscation was about physical control. The 2025 plan is about digital control. And the ultimate weapon in this new war on your wealth has a boring, bureaucratic name: Central Bank Digital Currencies, or CBDCs. You've probably heard the term CBDC floating around in financial news, often framed as a convenient upgrade to our current monetary system. It's just like the digital money you use now, they say, but faster, cheaper, and more secure. This is the greatest lie being told today. A central bank digital currency is fundamentally different from the electronic dollars. In your bank account right now, when you use a debit card today, you are using a digital representation of a commercial bank liability. It's a private transaction between you, your bank, and the merchant. There's a layer of separation between you and the central bank, the Federal Reserve. A CBDC removes that layer. It is a direct liability of the central bank. Your account isn't with Chase or Bank of America. In essence, your wallet is held directly by the Fed. Why does this matter? Because it gives the central bank total, absolute, and immediate control over every single unit of currency in existence. CBDCs are programmable money. This means the issuer, the government, can write rules into the money itself. Imagine the 1933 scenario with a CBDC. They wouldn't need an executive order demanding you turn in your gold. They could simply program your digital dollars to expire if not spent by a certain date, forcing you to spend and stimulating the economy against your will. This is not theory. China has already tested expiring digital yuan. They could program the money to be usable only for certain types of purchases. Perhaps you've already reached your monthly carbon allowance. Sorry, your CBDC won't work at the gas station or the airline ticket counter. Maybe you donated to a political cause the current administration deems extremist. Your wallet could be instantly locked, or your transactions flagged for review. Think about the power of negative interest rates. Right now, if the Fed sets rates below zero, banks might charge you a small fee to keep your money. But you can always withdraw cash and put it under your mattress. Cash is your escape valve. A CBDC system is designed to eliminate physical cash. Once cash is gone, there is no escape. They could impose a -5% interest rate on your savings overnight. You would watch your balance shrink day by day, powerless to stop it. It's a direct tax on your savings, automatically collected without any legislation or voting. This is the digital equivalent of the 1933 gold devaluation, but it's happening in real time, constantly, and completely at their discretion. The narrative they are building is one of convenience and inclusion. They'll say CBDCs are to help the unbanked, to speed up stimulus checks during the next crisis, to fight money laundering. These are the Trojan horse arguments. The real goal is surveillance and control. Every transaction you make would be recorded on a centralized ledger, visible to the authorities. The end of financial privacy is the beginning of total social control. If they can see everything you do and control your ability to transact, they control you. But CBDCs are just one part of the puzzle. What happens when the massive debt bubble finally bursts, and the major banks that form the backbone of the current system start to collapse? Surely the government will bail them out again, like in 2008, right? Wrong. The public appetite for taxpayer-funded bailouts is gone. The next crisis will require a different solution, one that doesn't use taxpayer money, but depositor money, your money. This brings us to the second pillar of the secret plan, the bail-in regime. Most people believe that the money they have in the bank is their money. They think the bank is just a secure warehouse where they store their cash until they need it. This is a dangerous misconception. When you deposit money into a bank, you are not storing it. You are lending it to the bank. You become an unsecured creditor of that institution. In exchange, you get an IOU, a promise that the bank will pay you back on demand. Under normal circumstances, this works fine. But what happens when the bank becomes insolvent? What happens when its bad bets on derivatives and unpayable loans blow up, and it doesn't have the cash to honor those IOUs? In 2008, the government stepped in with taxpayer money to bail out the too big to fail banks. It was deeply unpopular and politically damaging. So, in the years that followed, global regulators, led by the G20 and the Financial Stability Board, came up with a new framework for dealing with bank failures. They called it a bail-in. The concept is terrifyingly simple. Instead of using outside money, a bailout, to save a failing bank, they would use inside money, a bail-in. Who's inside money? Yours, the unsecured creditors. In a bail-in scenario, a struggling bank is legally permitted to take a portion of its depositors' money and convert it into bank equity shares of stock in the failing company. Overnight, a percentage of your savings money you were counting on for rent, food, or retirement could be vanished, replaced by worthless stock in a bankrupt bank. The FDIC insurance fund is shockingly small compared to the total amount of insured deposits. In the US banking system, it holds just a fraction of a percent of the potential claims. If a single mid-sized bank fails, the FDIC can handle it. But if we face a systemic crisis, a domino effect where multiple major banks are teetering on the edge simultaneously, which is exactly what a $300 trillion global debt crisis threatens to trigger, the FDIC would be completely overwhelmed in a matter of days. Its coffers would be empty. At that point, the bail-in laws kick in. This isn't some conspiracy theory. It was used in Cyprus in 2013. People woke up to find their banks closed, and when they reopened, depositors with balances over a certain amount had a significant chunk of their money confiscated to save the banks. It happened in a modern, European country, and the legal frameworks to do it here in the US, in Canada, in Europe, are already on the books. buried in complex financial legislation like the Dodd-Frank Act. They have built the legal trapdoor under your savings account. All they are waiting for is the next crisis to pull the lever. This combines with the third pillar, financial repression. This is a slower, more subtle form of confiscation. It's the deliberate policy of keeping interest rates far below the rate of inflation. For years, savers have been punished. If inflation is running at 5%, and we know the real number is much higher, and your savings account pays 0.5%, you are losing at least 4.5% of your purchasing power every single year. It's a silent tax, a slow bleed that transfers wealth from savers to debtors, the biggest debtor of all, being the government. They need this inflation to inflate away their massive debts. They need you to lose money so they can stay solvent. It is a deliberate feature of the system, not a bug. So, we have programmable CBDCs to control how you spend, bail-ins to confiscate your deposits during a crash, and financial repression to slowly bleed your savings dry in the meantime. It's a multi-pronged attack on private wealth, a modern-day enclosure movement designed to trap you inside a system where you own nothing, and they control everything. This leads us to the final, most uncomfortable question. Why? What is the endgame of all this control and confiscation? It's not just about greed. It's about a fundamental restructuring of the social contract, the convergence of these forces in payable debt, the end of the paper dollar standard, and the rise of digital control technologies points to a singular event that many have dubbed the Great Reset. The current financial system is mathematically guaranteed to fail. It cannot sustain the exponential growth of debt forever. The people in charge know this better than anyone. They don't intend to go down with the ship. Their plan is to manage the collapse, to control the demolition of the old system and build the new one on their terms. The new system they envision is one of centralized control, where wealth is not something you own as a sovereign individual, but a privilege granted and managed by the state and its financial partners. The 1933 gold confiscation was a crude early attempt at this. The 2025 version is the perfected, digital realization of that same impulse. The goal is to eliminate financial independence. A person who has savings outside the system, who holds assets that cannot be digitally frozen or seized, is a person who can say no. A person who is entirely dependent on a digital feed from the central bank for their daily bread is a person who must comply. This is a sobering reality to confront. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to feel like a pawn in a game being played by giants. But history also teaches us another lesson. Awareness is the first step toward preparation. Those who saw the writing on the wall in 1933 and moved some of their wealth outside the US banking system or into other tangible assets were able to protect themselves. While I cannot give you specific financial advice, I can tell you what the historically financial savvy have done in times like these. They don't keep all their eggs in one basket, especially not a basket held by a counterparty that is known to change the rules when it suits them. They diversify. They look for assets that have no counterparty risk, things that you own outright, that are not someone else's liability. Historically, this has meant precious metals like gold and silver, held outside the banking system. These are assets that have survived every currency collapse in history. In our modern age, many are looking to Bitcoin for similar reasons, a decentralized, digital asset that cannot be censored or confiscated by a central authority, provided you hold your own private keys. It's a digital lifeboat in a sea of centralized control. Others look to productive land, real estate in stable jurisdictions, or essential commodities. The common thread is moving away from paper promises and digital illusions toward things that are real, tangible, and under your direct control. Education is your most powerful weapon. Understand how the system works. Read the fine print of the user agreements that nobody reads. Follow the legislation being passed in the dead of night. Don't rely on the mainstream financial news to warn you. Their job is to keep you calm until it's too late. The plan is in motion. The tools are being built. The legal frameworks are set. The historical precedent is clear. The only question left is whether you will be a passive victim of this great wealth transfer, or if you will take steps to become the master of your own financial destiny. The ledger is being rewritten right now. Make sure you are the one holding the pen for your own chapter. This is a message that needs to be heard. If you found this video eye-opening, please share it with your friends and family. The more people who are aware of what's coming, the harder it will be for them to implement their plan in the shadows. And remember to subscribe to The Hidden Ledger for more deep dives into the financial truths that shape our world. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your assets secure.